Thank
Good morning.
you.
Yep. Good morning. Betsy, can we go live now? Okay. All right. Terrific. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Senator Brian Strickland and myself, we'd like to welcome you to what truly is a once-in-a-decade activity in terms of the ARC and the members of the General Assembly who represent delegations where the ARC's footprint resides. Senator Strickland was appointed by the Lieutenant Governor, and I was appointed by Speaker Ralston to effectively be the co-chairs of this meeting. We appreciate the time that you are committing to this, and we appreciate what we're going to go through. In terms of the agenda, it's a very limited agenda. Our purpose is to get together and effectively vote on the proposed lines that each of you have received in your emails, and hopefully that you have gotten a download from your delegation chair. The process that was followed was pretty rigorous. We appreciate all the work that the ARC and their team has put in. That includes Linda, John, Mike, and everyone else that supports the three of them. And in terms of getting the lines together and being able to provide to you what we wanted to be able to accomplish. How we'd like to go ahead and run the meeting is this. I'll go ahead. Brian has said, no, Todd, you take it. I don't have coffee before 8. So he said, you go ahead and take it right now. And I'll go ahead and give a quick overview. We will open it up to any Q&A. We do have the ARC on. We have requested that because we wanted to make sure there was subject matter expertise. We also have Paul Higbee on from Legislative Council. He's serving as, for lack of a better phrase, as the typical role of a Legislative Council, but also as parliamentarian. He will document who was in attendance and then also document that we had quorum. Again, since this is something that's only done once every decade, we wanted to make sure that we kind of dotted the I's and then crossed the T's. So let me go ahead and move on. Brian, is there any opening comments that you'd like to make, or would you like me to run right into the overview and then any type of Q&A?
No, let's just go ahead and run through it, Todd. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So we appreciate the fact that the ARC took time with each of the delegation chairs to be able to walk through what we were going to go ahead and discuss today and then hopefully vote on if a proper motion is made. Effectively, again, we want to make sure that you know that this is done because of the census. We have, according to statute, we have 90 days to basically get the census information and then put equal districts together in terms of what's occurring with the district lines. You should have received 2 attachments in your email, one going through kind of the how, the why, and also what this is not. This is not associated with the reapportionment that we will be doing during special session. The second thing that you'll see is the second page gives you a what did the 2010 look like versus what does 2020 look like. Probably the biggest change that you see in all is that Forsyth County, and coincidentally, I'm a member of that delegation, we entered into the ARC this year. So that's the biggest change you see in the map, because in 2010, that's just a blank, that right there's just white noise or white on the paper, and then boom, you suddenly see District 12. So I just want to make sure that you see that that's probably the biggest, most material change. Other than that, there have been just movements of lines to accommodate for population shifts that we had to accommodate for the ARC representation. This will deal with the elected officials, but also with the at-large. I'll go ahead and I'll entertain any questions, and I'd like for the ARC folks to be prepared if there's any questions at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
Wes? Yep.
First of all, I hope I speak for everybody in thanking you and Chairman Strickland for taking the lead on this effort. And I don't really have a question as much, but as such, but I would like to make a motion at the appropriate time.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chairman Cantrell. I note that, and we'll absolutely turn to you when the set time is ready. So any questions that we need to entertain right now?
Chairman Jones?
Yes.
Can you, for the sake of everyone on the call and everyone watching, can you please give us, or somebody give us, a thumbnail overview of where these maps came from, who drew them, when they were drawn, and the timeline?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I want to hand that to probably Mike at ARC. He's the point person on that, because that last question in terms of who, I don't want to misrepresent the accurate statement. Is that okay, Representative Wilson? Okay, great. So ARC, if you could go ahead and take the mic, please, and if you could answer Representative Wilson's question.
Mike, I put the map up for everybody.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Mike Alexander. I'm the director of the Center for Livable Communities at the ARC. And in support of this process and working with Representative Jones, we had our GIS staff draw up the Geographic Information System, our technical mapping staff, to draw up the map that you see as proposed. We did this using our standard GIS software. The state law requires those districts to be drawn to be as close to each other in total population, and that's the measurement tool for that is total population for each of the 15 districts. And so we built this map in GIS to incorporate Forsyth. And obviously between 2010 and 2020, the region added a lot of population. The new district target totals are about 331,000 people. And so what we tried to do with this map is to incorporate Forsyth and minimize the district changes as you add that population. I think you're all aware it's going to make the other districts change, and we try to minimize that change, trying to keep those districts as homogeneous as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Representative Wilson, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. If we could take off the sharing, please, it just helps me see a bigger, broader piece of everyone who's on. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions?
I have a question. I'm Representative Allen. Yes, I have one.
Yes, please.
Thank you. This is Senator Davenport. I represent portions of Clayton and portions of DeKalb. I guess this must have gotten embedded somewhere in my email, but this is the first time I've seen this proposed map. Is this Clayton County? Is that one representative now, or is that two? What is the one and the two on this map? Can you explain
Senator
that?
Davenport, Senator Davenport, I'll go ahead and I'll ask AARC to answer that. Mike or John, if you'd be so kind to again come back live.
Yeah, the mapping legend is structured so that each of the colors represents a district. So in Clayton's case, that kind of lime green is actually District 2. And we truthfully, the software changed on us, so we couldn't completely mirror the colors. We tried to match them as close as possible. So you'll see, because of that population change, how District 2 changed from the current map, which is the 2010 map, to the 2020 map. And you'll see how it went further south to grow in population to make sure that we've got 331,000 approximate people in District 2, which completely encompasses Clayton County.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I believe Representative Evans wanted to speak. Representative Evans?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to ask about just a brief overview of this map, and then how the people get elected to these positions and what type of planning they'll be doing. Just so someone from the ARC.
Sure. John or Mike, can you answer Representative Evans' question, please?
But John, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Well, so these are citizen members, so they are members from a non-elected positions. They are typically nominated by folks on our board that represent the districts depicted here on the map, and they participate in all board functions that the ARC handles that include transportation planning, decisions about our aging services, decisions about our workforce development services, decisions about our UASI program, which is the Urban Area Security Initiative, so on and so forth. They are essentially full voting members of the board. And Mike, if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, and in the simplest sense, our public members, our elected members, nominate and elect these at-large members across these districts. And so it's this idea of at-large in the original legislation, and often the districts do cross political boundaries, and that's why I think when the legislation was written, they specifically said at-large members to be elected by the public members to create this structure of governance for the Atlanta Regional Commission.
And public members meaning county commission chairs and mayors from each county.
Yep.
Thank you.
Representative Evans, is that, okay, thank you so much. Let me go in the chat. I think people are saying, Representative Davis, you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Not well, Representative Davis. Can you maybe readjust your mic?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Not well. Brian, our ARC, can you hear Representative Davis? Is it me or is it her mic?
It's her mic.
Okay. How about this, Representative Davis? I want to go ahead and skip you for a second. Don't worry, we will definitely come back to you. But let me see if there's anyone else who would like to ask a question. Anybody else? Go ahead and put into chat or raise your hands. All right, our last question is, I believe, from Representative Davis. So Representative Davis, can you try one more time, please? Representative Davis, you can also chat your question and we can read it. Is that acceptable? And I can
No.
read it out loud?
No, it's not acceptable.
Okay, now we can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
My question is with the way in which the maps are drawn and them being multi-counties. Has it ever been discovered that this cause an adverse effect to any given community to have the maps drawn this way? Because DeKalb County is divided into 5 districts. Has it
I
ever been
apologize.
found to be adversely affect a community? Can you hear me?
I can't make everything out. I believe you're asking, has there ever been an adverse effect of, can you maybe do it one more time? I apologize.
She said that
Oh, thank you.
DeKalb County is, this is Representative Maynor. She
Good
said,
morning, Representative.
good morning. She said DeKalb County is split into 5 different districts, and that adversely impacts her community.
Okay. Is that an opinion or a question? And I'm not being smart there, Representative Maynor. I don't, is that something that she would like an answer on?
My question was, has it ever been found that the way in which this map is drawn adversely affects a given community?
I know of no study. I'll go ahead and I'll permit the ARC to come back live and ask if they know of any study that has ever been done. Does ARC want to opine? I know.
I am unaware. Mike may.
No, I'm not aware of that. And I think the thing I think about when I read the legislation is you've got public elected officials that serve on the board. The cities rotate. They choose their representative from each county, plus the county chairman serve on the ARC board and the many committees of the ARC board, plus these at-large members that serve the whole region elected to these specific districts. But I don't know specifically any study about any impacts associated with the map.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Representative Davis, is there any other question that you have before we move to Senator Brass?
I was told that the number count is 300,000, correct? When you draw the maps?
I believe Mike from ARC said it was 331,000, but yeah, you're close.
Per district, not per county.
Per district, I apologize. Yes, per
Per
district.
district.
Per the state code.
Okay, I'm finding that in Central and South DeKalb, having over 300,000, we're going without a certain amount of representation. So how do I make that part of the public record.
I believe you're making a public record right now, Representative Davis. This meeting is being live streamed. So I believe that your concern, not just is documented, but is live streamed and is now recorded, and it'll go into the minutes of the meeting, that you have an objection to that, and we absolutely respect that objection. Thank you, Representative Davis. I had promised
Todd.
Senator Brass after Representative Davis.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Can someone possibly from ARC, or maybe Chairman Jones, you can answer this question. Why are we bringing Forsyth County in? As I'm assuming, is there some sort of population that they hit that kicked them into the ARC? And second question would be, did they have locally, did they have the option to come into the Atlanta Regional Commission? And then third, what is the process should they choose to come out?
I'm happy to answer that question. So the county commission petitioned the Department of Community Affairs, which is the umbrella agency that oversees all the regional commissions in the state. They followed the process. Their petition was approved, and then the actual legislative action was House Resolution 130 during session that passed almost unanimously. There may be some members of the Forsyth delegation on that want to comment, but so they followed a very formal process, and they were recognized as an ARC member as of July 1st. Mike, I'm not sure on the rules with regard to dropping off, but I would believe that would also require some sort of action that would emanate from the county commission.
Yeah, I think the process would be very similar as the rules are promulgated through the Department of Community Affairs of how they would do that. It'd be very similar to how they just joined the ARC.
The bottom line is they chose to join ARC. They were not compelled to join because of any sort of population changes. They evaluated their position in the region and determined that their needs were going to be met better by the Atlanta Regional Commission.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Senator Brass. I believe the last question. Oh no, we have two questions. I apologize. Representative Dwyer.
Hey, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I was just looking over a letter that I think Representative Davis penned last night, and I think the specific concern I just want to echo and maybe get some guidance from ARC on is there seems to be an ARC member in Dunwoody, but it's Central and South DeKalb that appear not to have a lot of representation. And I guess the concern around that for me and maybe others is seems like often certain areas of the metro region are forgotten about. And I'll say from someone who represents an area that is been historically disadvantaged, it takes a lot of intentionality to adequately represent an area where a lot of people are just worried about getting food on their table and making sure their kids' homework's done and don't have a lot of opportunity for political participation. So, I guess these maps, so I guess I've got two questions. First one is, are these maps similar to the last ARC maps that were passed out of the House, putting aside the Forsyth thing? And then the second question is, how can we get in areas like Central and South DeKalb that have been largely forgotten about a lot of times by policymakers, not all the time, but too often? How can we make sure that their voice and their needs are adequately represented here? Thank you.
Yeah, so Representative Dwyer, you should have gotten in your email last week the maps that are in, well, amongst other things, what's on the screen right now. You inquired just now about what it looked like between 2010 and 2020, so current versus proposed. As you can see, DeKalb, it clearly is not exact, but it went from 5 to 5 in terms of number of districts within the county. You can see, and I'm going to use colors, even though they're not exact colors. To Mike's point, the GIS systems have changed, but the northern part, 11, has stayed nearly the same, with the line being about the same. 7 has stayed nearly the same. Clearly, you see the brown coming in out of Gwinnett and out of North Fulton coming down into northern or northeastern side of the DeKalb. And then you got east side being shared with Rockdale and then Gwinnett, very similar to what was happening in 2010. And then finally, the 2010 versus 2020, the purple shading between Henry. Before that southern part was just shared with Henry. Now it's shared a tinge of Rockdale with Henry. So again, Representative Dwyer, I guess you can say the picture's worth 1,000 words, but it's for your own, it's for you to obviously interpret if you think that's the same, the different, or however you feel is appropriate. I believe we had, I apologize, with the screen up, it's harder to determine who. There was one more question. I apologize if the individual.
It was Representative Carter.
Oh, thank you, Representative Carter. I sure do appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is State Rep Carter from House District 92. I represent DeKalb and Rockdale. My first question, and I'm not sure if I saw that or if I overlooked it in the email that you sent, what is the 90th day that this map has to be approved by the legislature?
Mike, do you want to take the official? Because I believe I know the date, but I'd rather ARC answer that.
Yes, the census data that we would use to draw this map was released on August 12th. So the drop dead date is November 12th for approval by this legislative caucus.
Okay, thank you, and I'm hoping that today is not today, because you see that there are some concerns. As I review both maps, I looked at the 2010 and the one that's proposed, and it kind of looks similar, but when you add Forsyth in, I guess when you guys were drawing a map, it's just interesting for me that the northern counties that are in the region seem to be single or maybe two counties in DeKalb with 5, but with adding Forsyth in, it seemed like there should have been an opportunity to not chop DeKalb up as much. And I'm not sure, even at looking at this now, if there are any other counties that have been chopped up into 5 districts. So is there an opportunity, which I know there is, if the will is there, to take another look at these maps to see if maybe you guys can reduce these lines now that we have the additional county?
So I guess Representative Carter, is that a consideration you would like for us to make? I guess I'm just trying to ask, in the parlance of this being an official General Assembly meeting, are you asking for something officially, or is that?
I am asking officially, because I'm saying, if with adding Forsyth, it seemed like you all should have been able to put DeKalb in fewer districts. And I see Kim saying, I guess Fulton has 8, so you have to fight for Fulton. But anyway, yes, this is an official request to have an optional map, especially as we look at DeKalb County and having sufficient representation at the ARC.
Okay, thank you, Representative Carter. I will recognize, Representative Robichaud asked, and this is to the ARC or to Paul Higbee. May I ask if it is within statute that the number of districts had to remain at 15 while adding an additional county to ARC? So I don't know if Paul Higbee or ARC wants to answer that.
Well, the one thing I would say with regard to DeKalb County is their representation is actually quite large in terms of voting power on our board. Because they have 5 districts, they have 5 citizen members that would be voting on any DeKalb related issues and or the agenda at large as we proceed through our year, plus the 2 public members. So they actually have 7 votes, whereas a Cherokee County would have significantly less, just as a comparison, or Forsyth, to be quite honest.
The state law is very specific on this too. Even if you add a county, the district totals remains at 15.
Right. And right now, DeKalb and Fulton hold, in my opinion, just my observation, the most weight given the number of votes that the 2 have, more so than even Gwinnett. Representative Martin.
Trying to unmute there. Thanks, Todd. I just wanted to point out the same thing. I mean, Fulton is a large county, 100 miles long, but the areas I represent in North Fulton, as people have been talking about, they represented DeKalb and 5 counties. North Fulton County was a district zone in the current situation. If you look, we were District 12 that encompassed North Fulton. Now that has been divided up into 3 sections. Partially with our friends over in Gwinnett, friends up in Forsyth and Cherokee. So I understand there's an opportunity there to have 3 more, for 3 people in those districts would represent North Fulton needs. But also, I guess I just wanted to point out when people said Northern counties seem to be made whole, it does seem like in order to accommodate the additional people, try to keep blocks together, and by blocks I mean more concentric areas, that North Fulton kind of just added in to get to the 331, which is concerning on the one account in that you don't have a majority of Fulton to elect as a member. But we must remember, and I guess I'll try to cut it off at this, is these citizen members aren't elected at large. So it's not about how many citizens, are in the district in order to get representation. It's the elected body, and the ARC might just touch on that briefly. Like, for instance, to elect the new what is the majority Cherokee district, that those individuals would be, the Fulton County Commission would also be involved in that. And maybe ARC can just for 30 seconds touch on how that individual would be voted on, and that would also apply to the multiple districts in DeKalb. Thank you.
Anyone can choose to run, and the entire anyone with an address, a residence address within any given district can run for this citizen member seat, and the ARC board votes on those nominations. And I would add one more thing in terms of counties being made whole or not. It's not about giving preference to a county, like a Cherokee or a Forsyth. Those districts look the way that they do, and it appears that, say, Cherokee has a larger district or larger self-determination, but it's only based on the population breakdowns. And Mike can probably speak better to that than I can, but these districts are drawn strictly with the population totals in mind, not relevant to anything else.
John, and I appreciate that. And you made my point exactly, that it is entirely possible that even though North Fulton is in 3 districts, it's entirely possible, maybe not probable, that it could have people that live in North Fulton could represent all 3 of those districts. Probably not going to happen, but it is available for people to put themselves forward to run, and the board to choose that. My point was, it's not a popular vote amongst the citizens in there. It is a citizen from anywhere can run, and the ARC board actually elects. So it's a little bit different from at-large elections that we see in the state house, the state senate, and congressional districts. Is that not true?
I certainly respect the finer point on the jargon. We're simply following the way that it's written in state code. State code literally calls them members at large. But everything you said would be conceivably true. Yes.
I think one of the concerns, I'm going to go ahead and take chairman privilege right now off of this meeting. I think one of the concerns is, well, DeKalb doesn't have 5, I'll say DeKalbians, for lack of a better phrase, inside representing the 5 current districts. That's not for this body. This body says this is the line. Now, I'll say how and when the board votes and who they vote for, I would suggest go and speak to the board and obviously advocate with your greatest, I'll say, influence and power to be able to encourage the board to vote as you deem that you think would be an appropriate at-large member. I don't think that is a bad thing. I think everyone within, I'll say, our state has the ability to do that and should want to do that. So we're setting out the playing field. how the playing field gets filled in terms of who are the individuals who be voted in, that is not our part. That's not our purview. Our purview stops at the lines. And then at that point, then the at-large votes are done vis-a-vis the board. So Mike, if I'm doing the math correctly, what's the total number? In other words, if you look in terms of, walk us through the numbers in terms of, maybe that's a John question. If the specific question is around DeKalb, and I'm going to keep Fulton out for a second, no disrespect, Chairman Martin, but if it's just around DeKalb, walk us through the numbers.
So, well, Mike, you sounded like you were about to say something.
No, go ahead if you want to make a point, but then I'll.
Yeah, the only point, I think Mike and I'll likely make the same point. We would see greater strength in representation in counties that have in districts or in counties that have multiple districts, because you have that many more citizen members to run input through in terms of any votes that the board would take. So as I said earlier, in DeKalb County, you actually have 7 people representing DeKalb County, the 5 citizen members plus the 2 public members, which includes CEO Thurmond, who is really kind of the primary point of contact for nominations for the public member unique to District 7 in particular. So, and in Fulton County, it would be the same in terms of the number of districts that you have there are actually more, it looks like 7 or 8. So it would be 7 or 8 plus 2, plus an additional mayor, because the code stipulates that Fulton is divided in terms of mayoral representation. They have one from the north and one from the south. So there's, in my opinion, greater strength in numbers. So I would answer it that way. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything to what I said.
No, that's the idea, is these at-large members are crossing these political boundaries, and historically as staff watching our at-large members work, that's a key value, is that they can be from one county, but their district is multi-jurisdictional. And I've often heard them talking about that's incumbent on them to make sure that they're representing the whole district.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to recognize Chairman Strickland.
Hey, thank you, Todd. I just want to say we're starting to lose some people now on this. I think we got to make a decision. I mean, we're required by law to get this done one way or another. It's going to take us coming together, and everybody's going to have to compromise some to get this done. We have a limited amount of time left, but we do still have a little bit of time. And I know, Todd, you offered, and I think you guys held very many meetings with delegations prior to today. And so I want to encourage everybody, make a decision now. If we're going to hold on this, if that's the will of the body, that's fine. But I would encourage everyone to spend some time with your delegation, giving feedback and learning more about this and looking at these maps, so we can get this done, and we won't be sitting here the next time that we're called with all these different questions we have. And so if that's the will, Todd, if we want to have some more time, I just ask if you will let everybody know, and maybe it's something Michael or John, you guys can emphasize too, how you can learn more about this process, learn about how this works, learn about the maps, and give your feedback as a delegation if we're going to move forward on this.
Chairman Strickland, thank you so much. Here's what I'm going to suggest as a go-forward position. We had worked diligently over the last month and a half to coordinate meetings with the delegations, or pardon me, the delegation chairs, pardon me, and making sure that you guys were informed, and then that way that information was basically pushed down into your delegation if there are any questions. What we wanted to be able to do, no different than when we're in session, let's handle as many of the questions in quote committee. In our minds, those were those delegation meetings, so that when we got to quote the floor, in this case this vote, there wouldn't be as many questions. But clearly our plan went a little bit awry because we have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. The last thing we want to do is push anything through, given what I could tell is a little bit of the will of the body of some of the folks that are on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and suspend the meeting. We're going to go ahead and ask you, if you have specific issues, questions, recommendations, whatever it may be, would you please send me and Senator Strickland an email? If you happen to have the ARC's email, which you should have from emails that were sent to you, specifically from John Bayless. Would you please go ahead, reply to those emails, let us know your availability over the next couple of weeks. We will make a scheduled time for us to speak with you either as a delegation, a mini delegation, or one-on-one if for some reason your schedule can't permit you to get with the rest of your delegation. And we will go through each of these questions so that we're able to come back to the group. What we will then do is our goal will be to be able to get the whole entire ARC delegation, that's what I'm calling us for right now, the whole entire ARC delegation information by effectively a week before we start special session. So that's that Wednesday before November 3rd, and pardon me for not knowing the exact date, maybe October 27th, 28th. So my request to you would be this: please ask for and please give us dates that you're available to meet, say prior to October 25th. That will allow us to be able to coordinate all the meetings, get the information that you need. And then we will hopefully be able to get back out to you guys information by October 27th. And then please put into your calendar that upon adjournment, and let's assume for a moment Thursday, November 4th, we will meet face to face. Other than that, unless I hear any objections, I'm going to go ahead and suspend. And I look forward to meeting with you guys virtually and then seeing you guys physically either in October or November. Thank you so much for your time. Senator Strickland, do you have any comments?
No, and thank you everybody for joining. I know we all got a lot of things on us different ways right now. Thanks for coming on so early and giving your feedback this morning. And I look forward to working with everybody to get this done in November.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good morning.